Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit of a two-purpose video. So I'm going to timestamp this video. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to make up a new color and we're just going to play with it. It's going to be an orangey red color and we're going to make some crappie jigs. And the second part of this video, we're going to go over how I package different kinds of crappie jigs. We did do a packaging video on the worm, stick base, anything bigger. So that is like a 4 by 7.9 inch bag, the bigger bags. For the crappie style baits, a lot of times I use these 4 by 6 bags. So these are smaller than the worm bags, as you can see right here. A little bit different, a little smaller size, and they work good for crappie style baits. So we're going to go over how to do a couple different styles. I'm going to do the crappie slayer. I'll probably do the disc shaker, and then I may do something where it doesn't matter quite as much, like the curly tails or the 1.5 inch Ned crawls. But we're going to go over some packaging for crappie style baits, since that was a request that I got, and I'll show you how I pack them. If you don't want to watch me make this color, then I will leave a timestamp in the bottom and you can just shoot on over to watch the bagging process if that's what you wish to do. But we're going to take some of this 242 medium. I'm going to toss it in the microwave and let's start building a new color. As far as flakes, we have small flake 0.015 red and black from Bait Plastics. And we have three colors here. I'm not really sure how much we're going to use of each one, but you'll have an on-screen recipe pretty much. We have the Flow Orange from Bait Plastics, the Flow Red from Bait Plastics, and the Red from Bait Plastics. So this is what we're going to use to try to build out this color, and we're just going to see how it goes. So I'm going to bring you up here, and let's start mixing some plastic. Okay, we have this plastic nice and warm, and now we're going to start. So I'm going to start with some Flow Orange. So this is a 2-cup amount, and I'm going to give you the recipe for 1 cup, and then if you want to do 2 cups, just times it by 2. So the recipe on the screen will be 1 cup. So let's go. Okay, that is 20 drops of Bait Plastics Flow Orange, and we're going to let that orangen up a little bit. So I'm going to add some of this Flow Red, and I don't know how much we're going to use, so we're just going to start slow. I'm going to start with 3 drops. Okay, that wasn't enough, so I'm going to add 3 more. Okay, I'm going to add 4 more, so we're going to go, that'll be 10 drops of this. I'm going to go ahead and add some more orange. I'm going to go about 20 more. Okay, so there's 20 more of that Flow Orange. We're going to add 5 more drops of the Flow Red. So I think we need a little more orange. I'm going to add about 20 more drops. There is 20 more drops of the Flow Orange, and we are getting pretty close to what I was wanting now. So I'm going to add some of this small red flake, I think. Just a little bit. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more. A little season to taste here. Okay, we're going to use some of this. This is just generic flake. I believe you can get this at Hobby Lobby. We're going to start with 1/4 of a teaspoon and then just work our way and see how we like that. So, see how much a difference that makes. That's a little bit of flake. I want a little bit more than that, so I'm going to go ahead and add another one. Go ahead and stir this up. Make sure we don't have any clumps. Got to be careful. Sometimes that stuff will want to clump up on you. So I want it to be just a tiny bit brighter. So I'm going to add a little bit of white. White adds background, and if you need to darken it, you can always darken it. So this is just bait plastics white. And I'm gonna add about 5 drops of that. And we're gonna stir it in and see what that white does. If nothing else, it'll give us some background. And I think that's gonna help. I think I'm gonna add 5 more drops of white. Okay. I think that is gonna be really, really close to what I'm looking for. Is a pretty good looking color. We may even put a tiny bit more of this flow red in here. That was 5 more drops of the flow red. And then let's see what that does. Okay, I added 2 more drops of red, of actual red, not the flow red, and it turned it into more what I was looking for. I just wasn't quite happy with it, but now I am, and I really like that. That is a really nice color, so let's shoot some baits. Okay, we are all clamped up. I just ran clamps across all those molds, and then we'll make it easy. So, we've got our color here. If you're using bigger flake, it's not a bad idea to just take your knife and kind of go from the bottom like that. And it just brings a lot of that bigger flake up to the surface so you don't get any kind of settlement issues. So let's make some baits right here. There's the 2-inch disc shaker. Top that off. We'll shoot the 2-inch crappie slayer. And judging by my injector handle, I think we have plenty to go on to the next mold, which is the 2-inch curly tail. Since we have the extra plastic and clean injector, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I package my Ned rigs as well. So we have the 2.75-inch Ned crawler here. So I'm going to suck up some of this plastic here, and we'll go ahead and shoot some Neds too. That way I can show you how I package my Neds. So no use not doing it since we're right here anyways. So nice and slow shot. Going slow on these the molds with the ribs in them, definitely makes a big difference. What I've found as far as getting air out, if you're getting air trapped in there. This is the curly tail. We'll do it first. And oh yeah, see, those look good. That is definitely a more orange color. So as you can see, those look really good. That is going to be the 2-inch curly tails. Really like them. They turned out really good. Really pleased with that orange color. It's more orange than I expected, so really like that. That would look good with some black flake as well. So there is the curly tails. Now we're going to do the crappie slayers. See if we can pull this mold apart. Okay. And there is the crappie slayers. Very popular style. A lot of brands use this kind of style, so it is going to be one that you might want to know how to package. And look at that, guys. That looks insane. I really like that orange color. That just looks awesome. Better than I anticipated. So there's that. Now, let's move on and do the disc shaker. And then we'll crack open some Ned rigs. So here is the disc shaker. Just like that, opened right up. And they just look really good. This is such a good profile. Like if you crappie fish or panfish, this is definitely one of my go-to baits as far as profiles go. I've never fished this color with the red flake, but I bet it works phenomenally. Ned rig time. So let's open this up. This mold's almost too big for my hands. Goodness. There we go. Have to get my man hands out. Alright. Those look really good. I'm actually quite pleased with this. This is better than I anticipated this color being. And look at that. Those look so good. I'm really pleased with that orange. Okay, I have my bags right here. They are labeled and opened because I like to do all this stuff before I get any kind of wormhole on my hands. And as you can see, there is the labels. I have a video on this packaging and these labels. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if you want to check it out if you haven't seen it already. But this is what I use. If you guys do end up wanting to see a video on how I design these labels, let me know in the comment section below, because if enough of you guys want to see it, I will do a tutorial on how I design my labels. So that is basically it. We're going to start with the easiest of the ones, and that is going to be the curly tail. Because the tails on the curly tail are already bent, there's really not a wrong way to do this, I wouldn't imagine, because there's no way to keep those perfectly straight. So we're just going to add a little bit of worm oil to them, just a couple drops. You might want to wear gloves for this, but I'm just going to do it like this for right now. And ideally, you want to let your baits sit for a while before you put them in the bags. Let them dry on a cookie sheet or hang them if they're not going to get all bent up. If you can, for this video, I'm just going to throw these in here and it's going to be perfectly fine. So I'll end up taking these back out. So I'm just going to get them how I would normally get them, and then I'll just take them back out of here after this is all done, and I'll let them sit like I normally do. But basically, that is what I would normally do. And then I like to push the air out, do a little bit of a seal, and then I usually keep a towel over here. I don't have one here right now to wipe the oil off the bag, because you don't want any kind of oil sticking around on the label because it will deteriorate the label. So I want to wipe that off, get it nice and clean, and then there is how I do the curly tails. Like I said, there's really no wrong way to do this because of the tails, and they're going to be bent when you're holding them up like this. So they're not really as important as something with a straight tail like we're about to do here in a second. But there is the curly tails. Now, let's move on to something else. Let's go on and do the disc shakers next. So I grab them off my tray here, and then I will put some oil in my hands. And then I like to work on a clean surface where I have something that isn't going to get just soaked in oil. This isn't going to absorb any of it, so I can just wipe it off. This is just a piece of Vermica countertop from Lowe's that I had for scraps. And I'm probably going to replace a bunch of the countertops in the shop with this. I have some in my storage building. I replaced the stuff in my house with granite, so I kept all the stuff I tore out because I thought I might have a use for it. And that is what it is. So basically, I just take them off and face them the same direction. I use the body part down, and then I just stick my hand in here and push them forward. And then I kind of spread them out with my fingers a little bit on the outside of the bag. Make sure no tails are in the zipper. And then I like to push the air out and give it a good wipe down. It's a good idea to keep a towel around for this so you don't have to use your shirt sleeve like I'm doing. And then I just look for any kind of tails that are bent and try to straighten them out. And then once they sit for a minute, they will dry, but just try to keep the tails as straight as possible. And that's how I'm doing those. As far as the 2-inch crappie slayers, I really like the way that, if you've ever seen Bobby Garland stuff, that they bag theirs, but they have side load bags, and I don't have side load bags. So this is how I do it. It works. It's not as good as the way that Bobby Garland does it, because they have a long, wide side load bag, and it makes it really easy for them to keep the tail straight. So in this scenario, it's a little bit different. So what I'm going to do, same concept as the disc shaker. I just take them and set them in here. If you're bagging a lot of these, then this may not work for you. It depends how many you're wanting to put in here. So these are 4x6 bags, and they work really good for a dozen of these. You could probably do this with 16 or so if you wanted to do 16. 24 in a small bag like this is pushing it. If I do 2 dozen in a bag, then I like to go to the 4x6, or not 4x6, 4x7.9 inch bags. And then basically what I like to do, push these out and just try to get them where the tails are as straight as possible. You'll have some that are going to want to get bent, but just watch them and then just try to push them down in here until you can get them pretty straight, and then pull the air out and just move them around until you get the tails where they're pretty straight. And that's basically how I'm doing those. It keeps the tails pretty straight. As this sits, like I said, it'll dry and they won't want to move as much. And then just take you a towel, and be very careful with this towel because it has pigment on it. But I'm just going to wipe these down. Like I said, these are all going to come back out of these bags because I'm going to let them cure. But basically, just try to keep them as straight as you can. As you can see, let me grab a bag over here. If you can get it set up like this, this is pretty ideal. These have been in the package for, I don't know, probably a couple weeks now, and they're not moving. So, and they're not going nowhere. So, as they sit up and dry, that works pretty good, and you can keep them pretty straight for the most part. They're not perfect. Like I said, the side load bags would be better, but that is just a option for you to try if that's something you want to do. And then the Ned rigs are really easy. I don't have too much difficulties with the Ned rigs because these Ned rigs, I mean, unless you have them like really crooked, they're not really going to bend. So the main idea is you just want to keep the tails as straight as possible. That's something you don't really have to work at quite as hard on like stick baits and Ned rigs, but I figured since I use these smaller bags for the Ned rigs, I would go ahead and show you the process that I use for these. And then, like I said, if you haven't watched the original packing video, it is something worth watching. It gives you some good insight on how I do this. But yeah, just slide them in there all one direction. I like to leave the tails facing the top of the bag because not only are they thinner, but if you have the tail mold, you might have different color tails. So, do that. Push the air out. Try really hard not to get a tail in the zipper because the zipper will cut the tail off. Trust me, I've done it. And then, yeah, there is your Ned rigs. So that's how I do it. I had some questions on doing crappie stuff, so that is basically how I'm doing that. I hope that was at least somewhat helpful or informative to you. Like I said, I had some people ask about it, so I wanted to cover that, and I figured, you know, if we're going to do it, might as well just make up a color and just give you guys something else, because just bagging them would be a pretty boring video. But thanks for sticking around till the end. The 1,000 subscriber giveaway is coming up at 8:50. I'm probably going to go ahead and open up the video that you can comment on to enter that. I'm thinking about doing the making of the baits to give away on video, so hopefully that's something that we can get into. If you want to pick up any of the molds we used today, there'll be a link in the description to Epic Bait Molds where you can pick up some super awesome molds, as well as a link to my store if you want to buy any baits from me, maybe check out some packaging firsthand or any of that. All that money that comes through the store gets to go back into this. It is kind of a hobby that isn't super self-supporting. I spend a lot of money on this, but it is something that I love doing, and I appreciate you guys watching and sticking around because it is something that I love to do. I'm about to do a review on the 2-inch curly tail that you saw here today. I just wanted to shoot it a few times, kind of get a feel for it. I was using it for some fishing stuff. Usually I don't shoot them beforehand, so you will get to see it and probably in the video after this, and you'll get to see a little bit of an unboxing / review on that. So stick around for that. Stick around for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. We got some cool stuff coming up, and I appreciate you watching. I'll catch you in the next one.